Welcome back to Reading the Room, my friends. This is going to be a pretty straightforward video. I'm not going to go over the entire Greyjoy Rebellion, but I just wanted to take a second of my day to point out that Balon Greyjoy is a dumbass. That's where this video is going to go. It's going to be what was going through Balon Greyjoy's mind when he decided right after Robert took power, oh, Robert clearly doesn't have the people with him. He doesn't have enough allies. I'm going to declare myself king over here. I'm going to declare myself king of the Iron Islands, and there's nothing Robert's going to be able to do about it. I'm just going to go over how dumb of an idea that was and how it took 3 brain cells to come up with how bad of an idea that was, yet he just did it anyway. Before we get into how bad of an idea the Greyjoy Rebellion is, we're going to go back to the beginning before Balon was even Lord, King, whatever, of the Iron Islands. We're going to go back to when his father, the Lord Reaper of Pike, who maybe didn't desire to strengthen the ties with the rest of the Seven Kingdoms, but he just wanted to stay balanced. He wanted to stay out of it for the most part. And his Ironborn remained neutral for most of Robert's rebellion, and only decided to rise in support for Robert after the Battle of the Trident, honestly like most houses did. Hey, the Battle of the Trident was decided. Robert beat Rhaegar. Rhaegar was honestly probably going to usurp his own father because his father was crazy. And once that happened, there was no other possible outcome other than Robert taking the throne. So most houses got good while the getting was good, if you catch my drift. And that was great until Balon's father died at the Battle of the Mander near the end of the war, which made Balon his next successor. Balon rejected reforms and desired nothing more than independence for the Ironborn. And since House Greyjoy and the Iron Islands only joined the rebellion near its very end, they suffered almost no losses, unlike the other great houses that suffered heavy losses. And over the next 5 years after Robert took control, Balon decided to build a great fleet of 100 ships, the Iron Fleet, if you will, 100 war galleys. Balon believed that Robert's rule was insecure, he lacked support among the nobilities. He thought that because the war was so bad, left such a bad taste in people's mouth, that he wouldn't be able to muster a large enough host against the Ironborn to actually throw them back. I want to point out Roderick Harlaw, Lord of Harlaw, unsuccessfully advised Balon against the rebellion. Turns out there was one bright guy in the Iron Islands who were it's like that meme where the guy at the end, has the great idea and then just gets thrown out the window and they do whatever anyway. And in 289 AC, 6 years after Robert overthrew House Targaryen, Balon proclaimed himself king of the Iron Islands. He was crowned with a driftwood crown, and it only goes downhill from there. So what Balon didn't know, didn't understand, didn't care. But when Robert seized the Iron Throne, he didn't rule alone, he didn't seize it alone. He actually sat in the center of one of the strongest political spiderwebs or political alliances in Westerosi history. So let's just break it down with number 1. Robert himself was Lord of Storm's End. He commanded a fiercely loyal and battle-hardened region. His brothers Stannis and Renly each controlled key strongholds. Renly, I believe he was still young, single digits during Robert's rebellion, so he was not going to do much fighting. But Stannis was in charge during the entire siege of Storm's End, so Stannis knows what's up. So political power, naval power, battle-hardened troops. Robert Baratheon, the Baratheons were good on their own, but they forgot Robert's best friend, the guy he grew up with, was Ned Stark, the head of the North. So he's already got 2 regions fully backing him. It's Robert's closest friend. He recalled or revered him as a brother, and he ruled the largest, most self-sufficient region in Westeros. So there's 2. And then, who was Ned married to? He was married to Catelyn Tully, daughter of Hoster Tully, the Lord of Riverrun. So this alliance brought the Riverlands under the Iron Throne's control. So right there, now you got the Stormlands, the North, and the Riverlands. That's 3. And then who's Robert Baratheon married to? Oh, that's right. Cersei Lannister, the daughter of Tywin Lannister, the Warden of the West, and the richest man in the Seven Kingdoms. I just want to put a pin in this real quick. Because from everything I'm finding, yes, the Vale didn't necessarily send people to fight. But they were available if called upon, because who basically raised Robert Baratheon and Ned Stark? Oh, that's right, Jon Arryn. So they would have had the Westerlands, the Riverlands, the North, the Stormlands, and the Vale. From everything that I'm finding, Jon Arryn was a great... What am I looking for? I think I found this on my phone. Jon Arryn was like 70 during the Greyjoy Rebellion. So he's not going to do too much fighting, but at 70, if you're still alive in Westeros at 70, there's a solid chance that you've done some fighting in your day. So, yeah, he's got all the, I don't know, advisory, boxes checked. So he was a great advisor. There was actually something that I wanted to touch on, because it's noted that all of these things, there's no direct Vale or any troops or ships being involved in anything. But there was noted that during the... During the aftermath, the post-war tourney at Lannisport, Jon Royce actually attended the victory tourney, and he was there with his son. And there was some talk of he was actually battling somewhere and had just arrived. So my thinking is, maybe it's a theory, maybe it's a conspiracy, maybe, I don't know. Maybe the Vale sent minimal troops and they were there, but at the end of the day, they already outnumbered the Greyjoys, or the Greyjoy Rebellion forces, like something like 10-1. So personally, with all of these houses already involved, there maybe wasn't, it wasn't exactly necessary to arm up, transport all of the Vale Knights, get the Vale ships from one side of Westeros to the other side of Westeros, if they basically already had everything, solidly handled. I believe it's also said that Dorne and the Reach weren't exactly there either. I believe it says they sent some troops, but you had 3 of the 7 kingdoms basically not involved at all, and they still wiped the floor with the Greyjoys. So yeah, maybe they didn't exactly need to, again, transport all these people from different places when they weren't needed. So we're going to talk about Balon's tactics for the most part, and he launched his attack believing the realm was still fractured and just exhausted from Robert's rebellion. He launched his Iron Fleet, commanded by his brothers. Their opening move was bold, but the cool thing, or not surprising thing about surprise attacks, they regularly go well because, as a surprise, nobody really sees it coming, so there's not really a defense. So their opening move was to burn the Lannister fleet in Lannisport Harbor, crippling the Westerlands Navy before it could even set sail or get going, so that went well. The Ironborn seized several coastal holds. Again, that went well because, again, surprise attacks. But after the daring start, it didn't last very long because Robert called his banners, which again, I went through, it's numerous at this point, and Robert personally led the counterattack, because if Robert was about anything, it was about drinking, whoring, and war. His brother Stannis, along with Ned, joined him, each commanding powerful forces. Stannis led the royal fleet and crushed the Iron Fleet in open battle, reclaiming the seas. Ned led the northern forces in the final assault against Pike. Sir Jorah Mormont, Thoros of Myr, they were also there fighting at Pike. I believe they were both knighted after for bravery. Stannis' victory over the Iron Fleet, that's something that actually is like 100% confirmed. Stannis did that. The casualties for this, for Balon, was his 2 eldest sons were actually killed in the fighting. And in the aftermath, Balon bent the knee to Robert, and he was allowed to remain Lord of the Iron Islands, but under absolutely humiliating terms. His last surviving son, Theon Greyjoy, was taken as a ward, which is basically a hostage for this scenario, He was taken as a hostage to Winterfell to be raised by Ned Stark to ensure, hey, Balon, I have your last male heir. Don't be fucking around, or like the boy gets it. The Iron Fleet was destroyed. Pike was in ruin. The Ironborn independence was crushed. Again, it seems to be like a thing where they do something and then they get crushed. So to finish this up, we're going to talk about why the rebellion was just doomed from the start, outside of being just completely overwhelmed, numerically. So the Ironborn were isolated, again outnumbered. They lacked food, population, resources to stand against the rest of Westeros. Balon's navy was very strong, but once he lost the seas to Stannis, the rebellion was over. His position became hopeless. Politically, unlike Robert, who had the biggest houses in Westeros backing him, the Iron Throne was nothing. The Iron Islands had nothing. It was them and only them. So no one really supported his cause. The worst of all is he underestimated, like I talked about, he underestimated Robert having friends, having this spider web of alliances. So right from the get-go, it wasn't even a rebellion. It wasn't a war for freedom. It was a death sentence for the Ironborn. To end this, Balon lost his sons, lost his fleet, lost his future, and when he rose again a few years later during the War of the Five Kings, shockingly, it didn't go well for him then either. But that's a story for a different day. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I found this from a short on like YouTube from like an AI channel, and I'm like, dang, I can totally turn this 15-second clip into a whole ass video, and I think I accomplished that. So thanks everybody for watching. Peace.